Hi, I'm Mary Greendale, and this is Just Thinking. Welcome to our annual series of interviews of candidates for local government offices. The town election is May 20th. We have contests for select board between a challenger and an incumbent. For park commission, we have 4 candidates for 2 open seats. For school committee, we have 4 candidates for 2 seats with 1 incumbent. And for library trustees, we have 4 candidates for 2 seats. 2 candidates are incumbents, but 1 incumbent declined to be interviewed. That was an incumbent for the library. I am interviewing all these candidates. I have prepared specific questions for each board or committee. Each candidate will respond to the same questions for that office in their interview. I ask a few different questions of incumbents to reflect their years of service. Voters can compare the candidates' responses. The interviews are done one at a time and will be posted when all the candidates for an office have been interviewed. My goal is to have the videos run 30 minutes, except maybe longer for school committee. I had a lot of questions. The videos will be available on HCAP's website, on HCAP's YouTube channel, and on our Facebook page. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm now going to interview Leo Downing, who is a candidate for the Park Commission. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
No. All right, so what drew you to run for the Park Commission? Why? And describe your interests and goals.
Well, there's a very easy why. We have a young family of 3. Our oldest is 11, our youngest is 4. And so for the past 10 years, we've been involved in many of the programs here in town, from Miss Viviana to art classes, at the old Veristat building, to tennis, to the summer camps at Potomac, to the summer concerts. So we're well engaged with the programs that Park and Rec provide to our family and to other families in the town of Holliston. And so now that our youngest is 4 and starting to get into the programs more of the sports and play programs like that, and also just time. I have a little bit more time on my hands, so wanted to kind of give back to something that's given a lot to our family. And so I had interest, but then I was approached, and so then I threw my hat into the ring.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Do you have any personal goals?
Yeah, I'd love to see the programs continue to thrive. As I said, that my family experienced it. I think it's a great it's a great attribute to this town of continuing the community space or the community love that people have for this town. We're not a big town, such as a Milford or a town like Natick and stuff. I still think you have that small town feel, and I think programs and organizations like Parks and Rec is just something that, just like the French immersion and Montessori programs, I think those are attractors to the town for new families. And so for when my wife and I moved to town, we didn't have any kids. And so, we weren't involved, and then shortly we were, and we were like, oh my goodness, what a great thing that this town provides.
Weren't we lucky to live here?
Absolutely. Thankfully, I grew up in Needham, and so I was played Holstein in sports in the town. I knew how great it was. My wife was from Rhode Island, so then, it's not something that's really on your radar.
Yeah.
And then so, it's something that is, I think should be on anyone who is evaluating the towns around here and stuff, is looking at the parks and the programs that the town offers. And I think they should be an attractor, and I like to help in that, continue what Mark and Shannon have done, can see it continue to thrive. And then there's also like the spaces in towns, get those up to the standards I think that Holliston deserves as a town on aesthetic, but then just also for people of all ages to utilize.
Okay. So do you have education or experience that will be especially relevant to this office?
I do. So the college I went to is Wentworth Institute of Technology. And so a lot of, there's life science and stuff now it's a big thing, but it's, engineering, project management, architecture and stuff like that. So I did 2 full and extended co-ops with Turner Construction, where I worked with towns such as Lexington, Newton, Pembroke, Arlington, and MIT. And in those towns, I worked on helping build schools, such as like Newton North High School, but then also the field house in the facilities at Newton South, and then in Pembroke, doing their sporting complex, and then also at MIT, doing a research lab, and then also doing one of their athletic fields that's right by the Charles River.
All right. Do you like sports, period, anyway?
I do like sports. I do like sports, but
Okay.
I also enjoy other programs that the town offers.
Okay. So you mentioned some of the programs that you've been involved with and that you've sent your kids through. I'm going to, if you want to spell out anything else about that.
Sure.
I'm going to assume that somebody went to Camp Potoma.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Kids, they love Camp Potoma. Our 2 oldest, so our oldest is 11 and our middle is 8. And I think it was last year, maybe, our middle was eligible to do the Potoma, and she was doing that. But our oldest has done Camp Potoma, multiple sessions for many. As soon as the kids are eligible to do it, they're doing it. And I know my middle, her big thing this year is to be able to swim out to the dock and everything like that. So,
Yeah, it's funny how your kids and then kids from many other generations before them at some point you may touch bases and say, do you remember when you got that? You got out there and you climbed up on that dock.
Oh, yeah. And my oldest, she's very excited to be able to be I want to say, is this close
CIT?
CIT? Yeah, she's very, very excited for when she has the opportunity to become a CIT.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a big deal after you've gone through those programs.
Yep.
Okay, so you will be one of 5 people. How are you at working as a team member? And what experiences have you had that are based on teams?
Yeah. So as I mentioned previously, in my education experience, also I worked as an assistant project manager on all those jobs, and so I would be, say, Monday and Tuesday in Newton, Wednesday, Thursday in Pembroke, Friday all day, maybe at MIT. So constantly having to work with different members and stuff like that. So that was just when I was, I guess it was like 19 to 21, but professionally. I work with a lot of companies, and I have to work with our own companies. So we have our own internal teams that I work with and manage, and then external as well when we have to use other resources outside. But then also for the companies that we work with, working with their HR department or executive department or just whatever. So it's I'm simultaneously working a lot of jobs with a lot of different people and a lot of different skill sets. So there's different things such as communication is how does some person receive this message? How do you get across what you need to get across, and then how do you collaborate, and then how do you listen, and how do you hear what someone is trying to tell you, or the directive or initiative that they're trying to accomplish. So sometimes the best thing to do is to be observant, quiet, listen, and then take stock in that, and then work with those individuals or with those team members on what it is that we're trying to achieve and how best efficiently to do it, either in a timetable or in a cost efficiency manner.
Do you know the other members on the Park Commission?
I know Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
I know Mark, and I know Shannon.
Okay. Yeah. Is there a particular issue that you're interested in? Could be maybe one of the parks or whatever.
Yeah, I think all the parks could use some, TLC.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's happened with when I moved to town, the rail trail was just a path. So, and I've been in town.
It's all right. When I moved to town, it was still a train.
So yeah, we've been in town for 15 years. It's actually funny. I was thinking about it today. You know, preparing for this is soon enough I will have lived in this town longer than the town that I grew up in.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, so as I was saying, when we first moved to town, we lived in Mudville, as you know, and so we would walk the rail trail, and then to see what the rail trail has done, and then also what has happened with Blair Square. I think that's just a real sign of what is potential for this town, and then what is on the docket and scheduled to get worked on in Goodwill Park is inspiring. But I still think there's a lot more that this town can do. I think it's one thing is where Weston Pond is. That kind of a little bit of it seems like an oversight.
It's an afterthought.
Yeah. And it's right on 16, it's on a main road. And so people coming in and out of our town seeing that, and it's not a really good signage. It doesn't really have anything. So I think, just some, does it have to be paved? No. Are there boulders fun? I think that's fine. But I think that there's something that can be done to make it a little bit more, beautiful, functional, and but still not, cost prohibitive for the town. One of the issues that I kind of have is with Starter Park. I think it's, you're going to ask it later. It's a gem, but some of the ball fields there, they remind me of the ball fields, how they look when I went to my summer camp up in Maine. I think there's stuff that can be done there, and then I don't know what. Because my daughters don't play softball. My son's too young for baseball at this point, so I don't know if those baseball fields and softball fields actually have names. But I know the far field there has a lot of overgrowth and has a lot of poison ivy, and that's just not going to be good for the kids. And then the outfield on the other field, overgrowth, poison ivy, and then also when you're walking, if you're parking on the upper parking lot, and you're walking to the fields. You're going through it, and so
that's not good.
It's not good, and I don't think it's good because it's not just us that utilize the town. Other towns come to that field, and not every town has a gem of Lake Winthrop, and so I think it's something that the town should really focus on and having it so that when people come to play our town. Or like, wow, look at this facility. Look at this park that they have. We don't have something like this. I wish our town had something like this. So I think it's got the bones and it's got great potential. We're just not giving it its just due. And I would love to help, work on that and beautify that. So
it's amazing to me that the fields that are on the left side as you go down the roadway toward the park, you're facing the lake.
Yeah.
I mean, years ago those weren't there.
Okay.
And so to me, when I go down there now, it's like, wow.
Okay.
But I hear what you're saying. I did watch one of the old man's baseball games at one time, and I do know that there was overgrowth at that back end.
Yeah.
And that really isn't good. And I hate anything that has to do with poison ivy because it sees me, I see it, and I get it.
Yeah. I just it's what question are we on? I just want to make sure.
Is there a particular issue that you're interested in?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to add, this is just sort of an aside, there's that little park or the space that they're talking about doing something down on...
By the schools?
Yeah, the little empty space, and then everybody on Woodland Street, and everybody got to vote or comment on what they wanted. What are they putting in there?
I know at one point there were talks because of pickleball, the popularity, and then there's the noise at Goodwill and stuff like that. There were talks, but then the issue is about parking and that stuff. And so the last time I spoke to Mark, one of the thoughts was turning that into kind of like a bike, they call it like a pump park. So it's just kind of like rolling hills and stuff like that. So you can do skateboards, which I think is a great idea, or just something that is a space for kids between, say, 10 to 14.
14, yep. Especially boys. No,
Yes,
no,
yeah,
no offense or anything.
I was one of them as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Because I think it's great because the schools are right there, but then also, and we experienced this. I know other families experience it. And especially my parent and wife is especially on half days. The kids come down. They go to Coffee Haven. They go to the Superette and stuff like that, and they don't really have a space to go.
Yeah,
And so
no, it
what they
sounds
end
great.
up doing is because it's close by, they go to Goodwill Park.
Yeah.
And they're not teenagers, they're
Yeah, they're
tweens.
preteens, yeah.
And so they'll leave Raptors, and they'll sometimes use some foul language and stuff
Yep.
like that. And so
Yeah.
you kind of you let it go a little bit, and then you have to step in and be like, hey guys, or a lot of times it's guys, be like, there's little ones here,
Yeah.
come on. So if they had their own little space, I think it would be great, because then just like anything, if they feel ownership to it, it's their own little space. And I hate to say this, but it kind of puts them out of the way.
Yeah, let's not put that. Yeah, you don't want
Really
to be
don't
known as the guy
Yeah,
who wanted to put the kids. But I understand what you mean, because I
Yes.
had boys, like I had only sons, and they were at the stage of jumping bicycles. I mean, I have great pictures of them in airborne, going over jumps and stuff. But that's what kids that age are going to do.
Especially boys.
Boys,
I was a
for
boy
sure.
once, and we have a son, and
Yep.
we have two daughters. And the things that my son figured out to do, my daughter's never had any inkling
Absolutely.
to do whatsoever. It's like, well, how are you? It's like, how did you even figure out to jump off of that?
Yeah, I know.
And my daughters would never even
I wouldn't have
cross their
heard of
mind.
them. No, I know, it's wonderful. I didn't realize all of that until I had granddaughters, and it was like, huh, look at that.
Yeah.
They're just not the same.
So I love it so that they gave them a place that was still downtown, that they could go to the CVS, the pizza places, the
Yep,
ice
the
cream.
ice cream
They
shop,
still go to the
whatever.
shop, still can do it, but then they can go back, and it's also a safe space and an easy place for family members to come and pick them up and stuff like that.
Sounds great. That sounds great. Okay, so there are two components to the commission's work: the parks themselves, the physical places, and then the recreation programs. And those are two very different obligations.
Yes.
Are you interested in one more than the other, and why, and what in particular?
So I would have to say, just because of my past work and education experience and stuff like that, I would tend to lean to the parks and the facilities versus the actual programs. If my wife was in here, she would say the opposite. And that's, my wife has a high degree in education. She has her master's in education, so she understands programs, how to run them, and all that. I don't.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be a sounding board, give feedback, also input, but then also what we've experienced, and then maybe something that I've heard from friends and families and stuff like that. But where my strengths lie is more on like structure, organization, project management, and and facilitating those projects. And so I would say more on anything that's physical versus programs, because I'm constantly asking my wife. I'm like, are our kids? Are they on par?
Is this normal?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
should they, like what level of like reading? How much comprehensive should we be at? Like she knows that stuff better than I do. And then in our household, it's it's we each have. We're collaborative, but we have where she will run point on certain things and I'll run point, but then we're working with each other because we just have strengths and weaknesses. You're not going to be great in all things, but know what you're good at and know what you're not so great at. And then if someone is better in those areas, let them shine. And then you just be there to support and give them feedback, because no one can do anything on their own. Everyone needs a team or at least a sounding board, and that's where I'm not strong in, someone else should hopefully be in, and then I can support them in that. So for me, it would be more on the the physical land and facilities that we have.
Okay, so there has been talk about separating the parks and not just having DPW do the upkeep and maintenance and that kind of thing, but actually be responsible for the parks, and then parks the park commission is just the recreation programs.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to guess how you feel about that, but just to put it out there.
Sure.
Any value to that?
I see the logic in it at first glance, but I don't think it's self-sustainable in that. I think there's always room for improvement, but when you put two things in two different silos and almost put it seems like put a Chinese wall between, there's no,
Oh, okay.
I think that's a recipe for, like mismanagement and disaster and just, improper scheduling and stuff like that, where if there's just, and I don't know because I haven't been elected yet, I haven't been part of any type of the communications, I haven't looked at anything, but just as the question that I've read and proposed, I would see like there always needs to be some type of collaboration too. Like Mark and Shannon know their programs better than anyone, but the DPW, they know what they do and they do it well. And I don't think the town needs to put more on the plate of the DPW. I think we need to provide them more manpower to be more efficient in running this town. So I don't think giving them full sole custody of this and only them, I don't think that's the best idea. Is it an idea? Yeah, idea is great. It's an idea. Should it be executed? I don't think so. But I can't, without knowing more, I can't say
Sure.
my stamp is for this or for that. I need a little bit more information before I finalize my decision and see what was the justification of the proposal of separating the two.
That makes sense. Makes sense. Do you have any ideas or concerns about the park properties themselves? And you've alluded to them.
yeah.
You've mentioned that, certainly the poison ivy. I'll remember that one.
Yeah. Well, I just think when you look at some of the other towns and if you look at, I know it's slightly different because I know you get involved with the school committee, but if you look at the girls' softball field, you look at what the boys' varsity baseball field used to be just a couple of years ago, it's not great. And you have other towns coming, and the conditions of those aren't great. And I already talked about Weston Pond and stuff like that. And Batoma is a great kind of funky parking situation and stuff like that. I think it's great how the two parks started in Batoma are linked. You go through the path. They've done some work on the tennis courts and stuff like that, and there's a couple of others that need to be worked on. I think that trees need to be cut back, let air in, let sunlight in. So I think there's a lot of work to be done so that people don't always come to Goodwill Park to play pickleball and to play tennis, that we have other places, the place across from Starter Park, those are not, those used to be a basketball court and tennis, and I believe that's where the next proposal of the pickleball courts are going to go. So I just think that we need to look at working on these places, shared places in town, so that it doesn't congest the areas that are. Because if you have Goodwill Park, you have people that want to play tennis or have a baseball game, and then you have parents or families that want to use the playground.
Yeah.
Other than the new parking lot that went in. Prior to that, there wasn't. And pretty much when you say, oh, the tennis courts, and everyone only thinks of Goodwill, even though we do have other places in town with tennis courts.
Yeah, I think some of that is just literally the problem that every department, every committee has, and that is communicating what we have and making people aware. And it's not easy, and I've been involved in those kinds of efforts myself, and figuring out how you get that information out there when people are not. It was easier when we all read the same newspaper,
right?
kind
well,
of thing.
One of the things that and this is not necessarily a park and rec, but I do try to when I'm able to go to the town meetings, and the recent meeting, I know it was one I wasn't able to attend. I was away. It was on the 14th about the new proposed DPW place, and then several weeks earlier was that. And one of the concerns I had with the town is that the property that was the main site, which is right behind the Route 66 gas station. That was their
Cross Street.
yeah, where they wanted it to the DPW to be, but there was an issue with the land being locked up in land court. And I asked the selectmen if they had reached out to, and they said, oh yeah, we reached out to our state representative and stuff like that. I go, but did you reach out to the community? They're like, oh, well, our notes are always available online. I go, well, that's a stagnant thing. I go, just because you put it up there doesn't mean it's going to get read. I go, I didn't mention it at the time because I didn't know if it was capable. I know that when school's canceled, we get text messages and stuff like that. I go, why can't we use the same program to reach out to the community to either a project such as that, like, hey, we're having issues with this land court situation. Does anyone in town work in land court, or does anyone know? So I think there's a huge communication breakdown between the town people that run it, and then to the residents, and then within the departments itself.
Yeah.
And Holliston is no different than any other town, no different than any other organization. There's always breakdowns, but it's realizing where are we falling short on and where can we improve it. And I think just communication across the board in all areas is something that the town can definitely improve on.
You won't get any argument from me. Okay, so we're going to jump back to the lake.
Okay.
And yeah, some folks call it the crown jewel, and I certainly think it is. How does it fit into the priorities, and what can we do to maximize the use of it?
So I definitely think it is one of our crown jewels of the town. Just like I said earlier, the French immersion and Montessori programs. I know other people are like, oh yeah, we were looking at Holliston because of the French program and stuff like that. I think Starter Park in Lake Winthrop is the crown jewel. If you look at any house that previously has been listed or sold, I'm pretty sure a picture or two of Lake Winthrop is going to be on the listing. So it's something that people use as an attractor to sell their house. I think there's a lot that can be done. I think what the town should really do is look at what our neighbors did in Medway with Choate Park. They've done a lot of work of having multiple functional spaces in that park. And I think that we should look at examples like Medway and some other towns would have done, where they had a facility, they had a backdrop like Lake Winthrop to put in maybe some buildings and facilities. Many summer nights, our family and maybe the few families, will get a pizza from Corner Market. Kids will play on the playground, we'll swim, and we'll watch the sunset. It's a beautiful sunset. So imagine if we had a building right on the lake that people could have celebrations, birthday celebrations, anniversaries, graduations, and have it set. And then also during the winter, because it's very pretty.
It's beautiful.
So it could be an opportunity as a revenue generating facility, but then also the camps can use it as well, especially like when it rains, the kids can go in there. If there was also more, I'm going to use the wrong word, but I'm going to say a pergola, so that if it does rain, they can still do cover. Yeah, they can still do. So I think there's a lot of work that can still be done, because there's a dead space between the Lake Winthrop all the way to the first baseline of that first field. There's a big open field, but it's not being utilized for anything. People that are like, oh, maybe we're going to do overflow parking and stuff like that. So I think we have the bones. We have a great potential of Lake Winthrop. I use it, our families use it year round, from swimming to ice skating. You see people there fishing in the summer and in the winter. So it's something that a lot of residents use. And I think it's something that we should have, as I stated earlier, that when people drive into there and see what we have, they should be like, wow, this is amazing. The couple of issues that I have with it, the signage isn't great. It's tucked in between two houses, no fault of their own. So you kind of come up on it, you don't really know it. It can be tricky to get in there, especially when games are about to start and end. It's kind of blind. And another thing I think is very sad is that there's no crosswalk for kids to walk from downtown or bike to Startup Park or to Potoma. I think the fact that that we have this great thing, but unless you're getting there by vehicle, you can't really get there. And then also the space, there's a lot of opportunity. I understand the residents may be there for noise complaint issues. Yeah, you can work with that as well. But I think that it is a crown jewel. It's something that my family uses a lot. We like it, love it, I should say. And it's something that I think the town should do more to it and figure out ways that we could, offset some of the costs with, with some revenue, whether it's because it has the ball fields, maybe during the summers and then the summer camp, you have a concession stand that's only open certain hours. You have, I don't know if Holliston has it, we're not there yet, but when I was going in high school, you had to do community service hours.
Yeah, you do.
So that's one of the things that I did. I worked at our dump in our town, and I worked at the concession stand. I grew up in Needham, and so I worked at the Needham dump and the DeFazio Field concession stands, and that's how I earned some of my community service credits. They signed it off after you were done, and then I went in, and that's what it is. So I don't see a reason why, during the summer, some high school kids couldn't have that as a summer job, some part-time job. It could generate some money for the town, but then also if we had a building that like Choate Park has, because it's a beautiful building that they have, and I know it generates revenue for the town.
Sounds good. I actually haven't been to Choate Park in years. I should take a run over.
They have a splash pad. They have a number of different things. They have ball fields, and they have walking paths that I think we could do, and then they have, like I said, an area where they have benches underneath. So,
okay. Just as a footnote, the plans for sidewalks on Norfolk Street are in place.
oh, are they? Okay, so yeah, I'm not
There's just,
time.
it's going to be time and money. It's time and money. So, very quickly, because we're running out of time here,
Sorry.
are there any? No, that's fine. Are there any changes in the operations?
Like I said, if I'm lucky enough to be elected and I can take a deep dive in what's there, I could see if there's any inefficiencies. The only thing I know, and Halston's not alone in this, is sometimes summer camp is a big draw. So sometimes with some of the programs, there are glitches.
Yeah.
But as I've said, Mark and Shannon are very quick to respond and resolve any issues. And I know there were wishes some more internal run toddler programs versus, I guess recently we have been using some outside third parties and just not up to the level that they once were when it was run by the town itself.
Yeah, that sometimes happens, and it's interesting, but I think if it is the town itself, there's a little bit more commitment to it. So, all right, so now you get to do your 2-minute pitch, and did I forget something?
I don't think so.
Okay, so you get to look at that camera and tell everybody why they should vote for you.
Okay.
Why should you vote for you?
Well, hello everyone again. My name is Leo Down. I'm running for one of the positions on the Park and Rec Commission, and some of the attributes that I think I bring to the table is I understand how projects and money is dispersed, and also working with multiple team members. And my family has, we've been in the town for 15 years, and we utilize the programs, and will continue to use the programs for many years to come. And I want those programs to thrive, and also to be for other new families to be able to utilize them as well as we have. But in addition, I want to beautify what we have and make it better than where it is currently there. And I don't know, it's kind of hard because we hit on so many talking points.
Yeah, people will see it all.
Fantastic.
All right, and we'll just remind everybody the election's May 20th. That's always a good thing to remember. It's hard to remember that sometimes. May is such a nice month, and that's just who thinks about things like elections.
It comes up quick.
It does. All right, well, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Thank you for watching Just Thinking. You've done your homework. Now please remember to vote on May 20th. It's important for you, your family, and our community. Thank you.